I am taking the Dolecast live on April 25th at the Beehive with guests Kieran Franco and Jasmine Sierra. But that's not all. We also have comedians 𝘍𝙊𝐾𝐿 and TikTok sensation 𝘿𝙊𝙇𝙀𝐾𝐿 joining us. It'll be unbelievable. You need to go and buy tickets. They're only a £5. Why are you still here? Go and buy a ticket. Go and buy a ticket. Go and buy tickets. Go and buy tickets. Go and buy a ticket. Go and buy a ticket now. Folks, hello and welcome back to the Dolecast, episode 115, with my guest this week, Mr. Luke McGibbon. How are we?
Good. Oh God.
We're gonna have post.
Please. Yeah. Hello. Hey, 115. That's a lot
115.
That's a lot of doling.
It's a lot of doling for a podcast that doesn't get the most amount of views in the world.
But you can't be on the dole in real life. You're a student, aren't you?
I'm not on the dole.
Right.
So I've never been on the dole.
You're plastic dolly.
I'm a plastic dole. I'm a dolly hunter. That's great. I'm writing that down. But I created the name because I was like, I want some sort of like Northern Irish dialect that people
I
like,
get you. Yeah.
not resonate with, but like they hear it and they're like, oh yeah, I've heard the term dole before. So
Right. And you struggled to find something that wasn't like a slur from the local.
yeah.
Welcome to the cast. The cast. Wait, is this live? Did you say it's going out?
No, it's not live. It's not live.
Okay, good.
We're not going out. Don't worry.
No,
You can tell later. But so I used to do a show called Cooking on the Dole,
Oh, nice.
which was that was a long time ago.
2019.
So
Wow,
it
classic.
was me in my kitchen, making various food items with like a small budget, not because because we didn't have the money. So we called it Cooking on the Dole, and then we were like, do a podcast, and then we were like, what we'll call it? And we'll just keep using Dole.
Nice.
So we got Dolecast. out of
Right.
that, you know?
Cooking on the Dole probably like that as a format probably got more sad during the pandemic. I'm assuming that's why it didn't continue.
It did stop. There was another guy that did Cooking on the Dole. Because obviously, when you start these things, you check, has anyone else done this?
Aye.
Same name and stuff. And another guy had done Cooking on the Dole who seemed to be very much on the dole, as in like really seriously on the dole. And that stopped after 2 episodes. And I don't know what's happened to him. But
Cooking on the streets.
the first one was like it was like baked beans on toast for him, and then the next one was something
just
else.
the toast next time.
Yeah,
There's no
just
beans.
a singular bean, and then there was no third episode. So
Oh my.
shout out to that guy if he's out there.
Yeah.
We don't
Toss
know.
him a coin.
Yeah, we hope you're out there, Mr. Cook. But
Cooking something else.
yeah. But you've had a fair. You've done podcasts before, as in
done the
your
other
own
one.
personal.
Oh,
podcasts?
Yeah. I used to do a podcast years ago called Therapy Geeks, and that was with my friend Louise Taylor, who's another therapist in Dungannon, and God love her, by the way. And she was work cut out for you. And that was great. We were mostly just talking about therapy stuff and ideas like that. I don't think she does stand up now. She did stand up at the time. She was really good, and I think she's been toying with the idea of coming back in the same way that I toy with going for a jog every day.
Yes.
But I'd love to see her back. But yeah, it's still up there. I still host it. It's still about just because it's giggly. It's not super funny, but it was. I felt like it was informative. I'm afraid to listen back because at the start, it was 2018. We're like counselling students at the start, and I'm afraid to look back and see if I've got maybe like obsolete ideas about therapy. I'm not like talking
Yeah.
I'm not talking like like cancelable stuff. I mean more just
Giving out their own sort of
just terrible advice.
Yeah.
Just like, do you know what you have to do? You have to fight back.
And
Give him a
then
dig.
and then you've started one with Kieran.
Yeah,
Franco.
yeah. Good while it lasted.
Yeah.
It's called, yeah.
And it's going well.
Yeah, strength to who knows?
Who knows?
To the beans on toast.
2 episodes down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're currently neck and neck with the guy that did Cooking on the Dole. So
Nice.
We'll
nice.
see what happens.
Yes.
Oh
Oh no, we did a thd one. We've got a
really?
bait.
Oh,
We've got
you're
a
in?
bait. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is punching down to boast about that, isn't it? Like,
We beat you.
yeah.
But But we were both at a lovely gig last night. I wasn't on,
Yes.
but you know it was a
You should have been.
it was a lovely night for charity.
Yes, it was for charity. It
Yeah.
was for Adam Byrne. It was for. It wasn't for Adam Byrne. That would be a weird charity.
The Burn Foundation.
Yeah, the Byrne Foundation, keeping him off the beans and toast. No, it was for Macmillan. It was a gig for not for cancer, but against it, if anything. And
Fight back.
fight back. But it was great. It was great. It was in the Beehive. Why am I promoting a gig that's happened? It was in the Beehive. Well,
Get
there's
your tickets.
Get your tickets. Hey, it's all to a good cause.
Yeah.
Just don't come. You
Yeah.
know. No, it was great. It was really good. A great wee lineup. Great wee crowd in the heart of West Belfast. You know, which is kind of a separate scene altogether. You know, because
Yeah.
I feel like, and I mean this in a good way, but people in West Belfast really don't want to see anything outside of West Belfast, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's like a little bubble, you know.
I think I said this to you Aaron last night. I think there's a real sense like the room was like jumping at one stage in a good way, and I was like, this could be a really strong like a Lavridge-esque club in West Belfast. Like it could really be built up in even every other week. You have a couple acts on. And
Definitely, yeah.
And like maybe a smaller sort of capacity. You could definitely build that up.
Oh yeah. I mean, don't tell that to the guy promoting it, but who I felt like last night was a bit like stressed. Imagine going like, hey, imagine doing this every fortnight.
What made me laugh was like they obviously don't get a break because at the very end, Adam got up and was like, in about 10 minutes the next show goes live, so buy your tickets. And I was like, that's
there's another one.
Yeah, I'm on it.
Oh good.
Yeah.
Hey, congrats.
Me, Alan Irwin,
Nice.
Matthew Dinsmore, Ian Thompson, and Mickey Bartlett.
Nice.
So
Hey, that's a sweet lineup.
That's a sweet lineup.
December.
January.
Oh yeah, you were saying
January
yeah,
the
January.
31st. So they want their Christmas, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
So they're taking it off. But no, it was a good gig. I would imagine you've been running the Pavilion for how many years now?
11. And I took it over in 2013. I didn't want to actually. I took it over from Alan Irwin.
Oh really?
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
know Alan Irwin.
Oh, for about a year, and he'll tell you he ran it into the ground and f***ed it up. He didn't. Like he brought new life to it, but also it took life from him, which is sort of what it's just sort of what a weekly gig can sometimes do to you, especially if you're doing everything. You know,
Yeah.
if you want a weekly gig, you should probably. You know, usually some stuff needs to be split so you don't kill yourself. Can we bleep it? No, I don't know. No, I don't know. Like, he says it visibly aged him, and sure, you know what age he looks like already.
Mhm.
And
That's hard at 50.
that is,
You know?
yeah. I tell you what, he looks great for 50.
He's coming on the podcast. I was joking.
No, he loves
yeah,
it.
yeah.
He loves it. He ran it for a year. He took it over from a guy called Graham Watson, who took it over from a guy called Liam Watson. So it started
Any
in
relation?
2008. No relation, weirdly.
That's
Roommates,
the
though.
Watson
Really?
Yeah, the Watson family.
Liam Watson could definitely, and if he's listening, shout out, could definitely play the Watson character in a Northern Irish
Ooh,
Sherlock
yeah.
Holmes series.
Yeah, I think
Because he
could.
really has that sort of like
Good
Sherlock's
suggestions.
missed something and Watson's picked it up. You know,
Yes.
he's like,
Though,
but I've got it, Sherlock.
He
you
could
know?
also pull a good Sherlock, I think.
He
as
could
well.
pull. Yes, I can. He would suit that cap.
Yeah,
and his, I can picture his eye in the big
Deerstalker.
magnifying glass.
Yeah, I
and
could
saying
definitely see
something
that.
like the gigs of foot or something like that.
So it started in 2008. It went to a bunch of people, and then it eventually went to me. I think the way Alan put it was that he was like, "I can't do this anymore, so it's either going to stop or go to someone else." And at the time, there was no open mic gigs, and I'm a big believer in a good comedy scene needs a very strong bottom. Needs a very needs a strong and open bottom. Like and so you know without it there wouldn't have been anywhere for people who were starting off to do it, and you know then it would only be like because I think I was well not established, but I was around enough that I would have been fine. But it's also just like it's not just about me, is it?
Yeah.
You know. So I took it over, and I took it over with a couple of other people who over the years fell away. So it was just me in the end. But yeah, and
Social network them.
yeah.
Oh, it's 0.1%.
Don't call it the Pavilion. Just call it Pavilion.
Yeah, drop the
Yeah.
Pavilion.
Yeah. Drop the alien.
Yeah.
Pav.
Yeah.
So I've been running that for 11 years, and luckily now there's other open mics. So it's not just because, like I say, I think you know the scene needs a place for people to start, and it needs a place for people to be allowed to be because you will never get good at anything without being shit at something for a while first. I mean, well, some of us had pretty good first gigs, but, and then died in our hole in the second. But
I obviously started in Madden's and
yes,
had a decent first 3 or 4. And during that, went to the Pavilion and stuff. And we actually went one night before I'd ever started stand up, just to like scope the place out.
Nice.
And we were sat in the front row. Kieran was on.
Franco.
Yeah.
Nice.
Was he calling you Spider?
Yeah, he was like, he asked me what my name was, but also what am I scared of. So I was like, oh, spiders, and he just called me Spider for the rest of the night. I don't know if he remembers that, but I don't know if I've.
I think he will. I think he
Yeah.
will. Yeah. It feels like something he would.
We were like, yes.
But also, you wear all black and a baseball cap, and I feel like if you had a nickname, Spider isn't crazy.
Yeah, it's not. I mean,
You got
it's
a couple
not.
tattoos.
Yeah,
you
you've got
know.
arms, so
Yeah.
you're.
Yeah.
So you're.
Yeah.
Eats flies.
Yeah.
Yes.
Predator.
Eat my
No.
own spider.
No, sorry. No, sorry.
So like, yeah, we went there first, sort of scoped the place out. And I remember, and he'll not mind me saying this. William Thompson's been on the Dolecast, and
Yes.
he was there that night. Just I don't know, he wasn't on. He was just about.
He does that the other time.
And Ben, who used to produce this podcast all the time, but has since fled to France for war crimes. He has fled the country. He's there for uni, and he. Because William had been on the podcast, Ben was just like, we're all mates. So I went over very briefly and spoke to William. I was like, good to see you. Like, I'd love to get you back on the pod, blah, blah, blah. And obviously this is before I started stand-up, so like, they know of you, but they don't know, no one knows you.
Sure.
And Ben walked over and was like, well, mate, how's it Dolecast? And was shaking his hand. And I was like, I could throttle you. I really could. But... yeah, it was.
I'm sure he's grand with that.
It was not when he punched him in the face, but no, it was a good night.
Good hand as well. The good hand.
Yeah, good night, and then started Madden's, and then it was my 6th gig. I'll never forget it. The first bomb. The first bomb.
I thought I'd given you your first bomb. That's good. That's good. And then
when was that? What, my first path, probably.
Hiroshima.
didn't you have? Were you on a rough night?
Monday was. Oh, there was.
You've had pretty bad luck when I book you.
The night where people were asked to commit suicide.
Oh yeah, that was more recent. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, there was. I think the first one I gave you was a rough night for everyone, wasn't it?
I can't remember. Yeah, probably. Or I was just eating dirt. Monday was pretty horrific for me, to be fair.
You didn't have a great one there.
Yeah, that was not good. I went home and I driving home. I was like, I need to seriously knuckle down here.
I've had one of them
because I was just sort of driving home. And I was like, I wasn't firing on all cylinders there. I needed to.
I think you were grand. I think they just weren't warm enough yet. I think I made the mistake because I was like, well, I'm having a nice time. Better bring on an act. And then it was like I didn't realize there was no momentum.
It didn't. I mean, we said this on Monday. It didn't help, and I was like, "You're all bored. You're all bored.
But you
none of
meant,
you are any fun."
I think you meant that in the cheeky chap
Yeah,
way. But
yeah.
then, like, the minute you said it, you
just
could
turned to
see.
hate.
Yeah, you could see it felt like, oh, he means it a bit.
Yeah.
It's
I think what broke it for me was I was like, anybody any good jobs? And no one opened their mouth. I was like, you're all employed. Like, one of you say something.
Do you want a tip for that? Actually, do you want to give me a tip?
Work for it.
If you're
Here's a McGibbon tip. Go for it.
oh shit.
Go for it.
Did you know what that button did before you pressed it?
Yeah.
I'd love
Give
it
me
if you
intro
hit,
music.
I'd love it if you pressed it and it was just like a burp.
Oh, here's a McGibbon tip.
That's a McGibbon gig.
Yeah.
That's it. What were we talking about?
A tip for
okay, yes.
not being cheeky. To the audience.
It's something about open questions to big groups, if you know what I mean. So if you go here, anybody here employed? I mean, that's like a yes or no question, I suppose, and that's a lot easier for them to answer as a group.
Yeah.
And also, if you want them to answer as a group, you do this with your hand so that they know when to do it. It makes it a lot easier for them to do it. Because whenever I'm in a crowd,
you can't speak. Yes.
Yeah.
Now you tell me this. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think I don't know if you put it as anyone here employed or you said anyone here any fun jobs, and that's like that's a question that requires a specific answer, closed question, but you've asked it to an open group, the room. So I think everyone's sort of looking around, going, "Do I shout something? And when?" And so I think
be more personal and be like, tell me what you do.
Right, to
and
one
we'll
person.
We'll go from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was a real stinker. I didn't even go to McDonald's after. I usually 9 times out of 10 I'll be at the Golden Arches after a gig. last night, you know,
Yeah,
the
Slim's Healthy Kitchen.
Yeah, the quarter pounders were flying, and but after that I was like, I need to drive home and just I actually went home and just wrote new bits. I was like,
Fair play,
I need to just write.
That's good
'cause
response.
that was heartbreaking. Yeah, so it was the first bomb was at Madden's. And it was the week before. It was you know the cinema stuff I do, and I had done that for the first time the week before, and
Strong bit.
And it's annoying because it was the first time I did it, and it's never gone as well as that again. And it was like incredible. And then I was like, I'll do this again the next week. It'll swell. And when I tell you, it got nothing. It got nothing. And I remember John Devlin, who probably only been doing it probably a month longer than I have, said to me like, when I was starting, like, as soon as you get that first laugh, you're golden. Like, the nerves go.
Yeah.
But this specific gig, the laugh just never came. Like, the first laugh just never seemed to come. And I was like, we're 2.5 minutes in here and no laugh has
Waiting on
come.
this first laugh.
Yeah,
Any minute.
Any minute's coming. And I just collapsed. Not physically, but mentally. I was like, oh no. And I remember I got off. I usually stay for most gigs at this stage. Obviously there's been a few times I've left. That was the first time I was on 2 before the break, and I literally got off stage and was like, I'm getting out of here. See you later. Goodbye. That's broken me mentally. See you later. That's a Houston gig. If I leave straight away after my set, I've had a shocker.
Amount of wounds licked.
Yeah. I literally am away to retreat back to HQ and lick my wounds. But yeah, I've had a few shockers. I really like the Pav as a room, to be fair, and I even said this to Aaron, like, in a couple of years, like, if I was ever doing like a wee show, I would probably put it in the Pav.
Would you know?
Yeah, I probably would.
I sometimes think about it. We haven't done anything like solo shows in there for a long time. The last time we did it was a fella called Christian Talbot. Shout out, long gone. Great act at the time.
Is he
at the time
still with us?
No, he's still with us. No, he just doesn't perform anymore.
Long gone.
And
It's like, oh no.
when
He's making beans and toast.
When I say great act at the time, I also just mean he's a great act. But at the time, he was performing. But I did a solo show there, and it didn't feel right weirdly in the room there. And I'd seen the show elsewhere, so it was a good show, you know. So I don't quite know what it was, and then from then on, I was like, maybe no solo shows here. But also, like, that was a long time ago, you know, because 2018 the room got done up, so the Pav used to look completely different.
Yes, I've seen old photos. Yeah.
It used to have a much more artisticness about it that I liked. It was kind of bleak. It was really dark, and the floor was sticky, and none of the chairs had backs. And I loved it. I loved it.
This is my home.
Bleak. Yeah. And I love it as it is as well. But I do miss that a little bit. Also, the room used to be reversed, like, so the bit that's now the wee performers area used to be where the stage was. Yeah,
right, okay. Because Aaron Butler was on the podcast last January.
Nice.
And it was obviously before I started stand up. And he was like, message Luke McGibbon on Instagram, and I didn't know you were a comedian. I just presumed you were like just a booker, just the McGibb, and I messaged the wrong Luke McGibbon on Facebook. I messaged some random guy. I was like, any chance of a 5? And he's like, what are you talking about? No, he never replied to me.
Monday night. See you for 5 minutes.
Monday night, 5 minutes, all good.
It'd be different if he gave you like.
Be mad if he was like, yes, no worries. Yeah, no worries. See you later.
Yeah, turn up at his house.
I've been waiting.
Ready to do a bit.
The McGibbon gig, and so I messaged some random bloke called Luke McGibbon. Was like 5 minutes. Never got a response, and then obviously like you're flat out. I'm sure with like booking Pav and stuff like that. Because there's loads of people that are, I'm sure. Spots.
I would think the minute I've managed to get a system that works a bit better for me. It doesn't work quite as well for the acts, but I need to stay. I need to stay sane. I'm not quite week by week now, but I have a couple little different folders where I've got like I've got one folder with rankings, which
class. That is class. Rank as in of acts of like.
Yeah, well, more like there's like 5 categories, isn't it? Just in like can headline, which is like a 20-minute spot.
Yeah.
And then there's solid 15, solid 10.
Yeah.
And then there's shows promise. Up and coming.
Shows promise. Wow.
Up and coming, ropey / new, and then bad, which has about 2 people in it, and they're long gone.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. So there.
Shout out. No, imagine if I said. No, I wouldn't. No, one of them was just, he's done 2 gigs and he was from, not Tunisia. He was from Saudi Arabia and he had done a couple of gigs in Galway and he drove all the way up to Belfast to do 1 gig. And it was mostly about how his dad beat him and how he thinks that was a good thing and how all women are yeah,
You're going in the show's promise folder.
yeah. That's shout out 𝐒𝐿𝐿𝙇𝙀𝐾𝐿.
Is that his name? Wow.
Yeah.
Shout
I mean,
out.
he doesn't live here anymore. I
Yeah.
guess.
And if you're ever looking at 5,
Yeah.
the man the message. So that's. I mean, not surprised. I mean, it's probably a good system to show folders and stuff like that,
and then there's
you're
within
able to
that.
book around that, I suppose.
I mean that's just for me to have. I don't really even consult it that often. Like I would, and some of them are in bold, and that means they've headlined before, and some of them are in italics, which means I don't know. If they belong in this category,
Yeah.
means like they might be better or they might
It
be
strikes
worse.
me as like, do you ever get in? Is it X Factor or Britain's Got Talent? Where like towards the end they have photos of everybody and they're putting them into like certain categories. They're like, we'll see.
BBC do that.
Yeah, you're like, we'll see.
Yeah.
I take it you've gone for the new comedy awards. Some stage?
I did once. Yeah, I'm not going to again. I probably should, but I know I did it 1 year, and then like a lot of open micers gave me a lot of shit for it because I'm not new. Even though I do think it's a very loose definition of the term new because it's basically new to the public, new to the British public. They weren't enforcing. I mean, they don't enforce anything. I have some criticisms of it because it's like a lot of Southern acts come up and they say, I've got an address in the north, and then they're basically this year there was, I think, in the pre-televised heat there was 2 people from the north. There was 2 women at all, of whom both of them are great and neither of them got through. And so then the televised heat ended up being, there was only 1 Northern Irish act in it. And then the rest of them were either from the south or they were from some of the British heats that they'd had over. And I feel like, I mean, if you want to do that. But I'm also just like, don't pretend it's a regional heat.
Absolutely.
There's
simply no point in having a regional heat.
Right.
If then you're not going to use anybody from the region.
Right here, welcome to the regional heat. Here's 𝐒𝐿𝐿𝙇𝙀𝐾𝐿.
Yeah, and it's not like within the region.
Yeah,
you don't have like 5 acts.
Yeah,
that you could televise to put through.
Yeah,
I've told this story I don't know how many times in the podcast, but I applied for the New Comedy Awards.
Yeah, you should. Everyone should still be applying for it.
Well, I applied before I did stand up.
Oh,
probably 4 years ago.
You applied 4 years ago before you did stand up.
I applied 4 years ago before I did stand up. In my bedroom, I recorded myself using probably that very microphone.
Nice.
Did 5 minutes.
Yeah.
To no one, to thin air, and then sent it off like on audition tape. And I remember getting into your car, which probably shows that it probably was less than 5 years ago. How long have you been driving?
3 years.
So I remember getting into
It
your
was probably
car.
the first year off the driving.
Yeah. We'll say that.
Maybe we'll give him that.
We'll say that.
So I'd already been driving for about the first year, probably.
Yeah, that was good that you just were straight into that, and I've ruined it by then talking about it. I sent it off like on audition tape in my bedroom to no one. But I was like leaving breaks for laughs and stuff. I was like, what do you think of this? Shelves on the bedroom walls, and then I got into your car, and like obviously I'd read up that like if you got through to the heats, and then you could end up over in England and competing there. And we're getting in your car and being like, this could be big, like this could be us. I could you could be coming over to England with
it's
me.
not out of the question. Like I know you're saying it like that was ridiculous, but like a couple of years ago I think 3 or 4 years ago now, in their pre-televised heat, they had some people doing their first gig. And whenever I heard about it, I was like, that's ridiculous because amazing comics had applied. And then they're putting on someone doing their first gig, which is just not wise. Don't do that to somebody.
Yeah.
Ruin their life. Anyway, yeah. Sorry, you were saying.
No, so I never heard back, unfortunately. I don't know
ghosted.
why. Must have got lost.
Ghosted by the BBC.
Sent to the wrong Houston.
What age were you at the time?
I was probably 16, 17.
Right, and they probably passed your email on to someone else in
Yeah.
the BBC. And like, hey,
Hugh Edwards, have a look at this.
check this out.
This kid's showing promise.
Hugh Edwards like talking to himself though. This guy's crazy.
Hugh Edwards gets all his categories up. And he's like promise, ropey, bad,
solid 10. What's
solid
that?
10. Very good. But I suppose like over the years of running Pavilion,
Yeah.
I'm sure you've some horror stories of. Without naming specific acts and stuff like that, but I'm sure you've some.
Yeah, no, there was some stuff. I mean, like, some of the more specifics. Well, there's some guy there was one guy I do name as one of the worst I've seen because he gigged for a while afterwards and he was much better. It was just because he was too drunk at the first gig. Okay. But which can happen. Yeah, you need to move away from that pretty quick when you start. I think I maybe did 2 or 3 gigs drunk ever, and they were great, but great crack. But then you go, oh, here, this might be a problem. Like, what was it? Yeah, Ronan Diamond, he's called. So he gigged for a long time afterwards, and he's a great comic. But he his first gig he got very, very drunk, and he was sort of just stuttering and stumbling on his words. And at the time, all the spots were 7 to 10, which was a default. That's too long even for somebody who's all right. And Ross Mitchell, who was running the gig with me at the time, was like, flash him. I was like, he's not hit 10 yet. And he was like, you're gonna need to flash him. And I was like, we'll see. Yeah. And then so at 9 minutes I flash him, and he keeps going. And I flash him again at like 11. Like, I'm flashing him a lot because he's not doing well. He's barely speaking. He's when someone's so drunk, like everything is just like they're able to say before it. Thing, and then they don't know what the thing is. It was like that, and then I think it was just some bit about being on holiday and there being a lot of muscular black men or something making and
stroke my bit.
When you're on holiday and there's lots of stuff about like muscular black men, and then just ... like from the like
crowd.
Yeah. He was like the visual version of like, when you see like someone is typing, but then nothing ever comes.
And the message never comes through. Yeah.
And eventually I people gave him a round of applause for something he said to get him to go. Do you know what I mean? And then like 17 minutes ultimately was how long he did. It was a long time.
I've heard this.
Yeah.
I've heard of this.
Ooh. Yeah. And like at one point I turned off the mic and put on the music and turned off the lights, and he was still standing there on stage trying to talk, and like someone had to just go up to him and be like, come on now, come on.
That's crazy.
Usher him off stage.
That's crazy.
So
straight into the possible headliner folder. Has a good 17.
Headlining Purdy'sburn.
Yeah.
I know, and that was 2017. That was a long time ago. So, was it 20? Yeah, it was. So yeah, that was probably one of the worst ones I've seen. There was a guy who was performed in silence, which I think is worse than most forms of dislike a crowd can give you. But what I remember, and what's weird is other people have told me this story apropos of nothing, so it makes me think it was especially this way. But the creaking of the floorboards as he shifted his weight from side to side, and that was the loudest thing in the room. Between him speaking and the silence of the crowd was just.
That's grim.
And that was hard going. I was his first and indeed last gig. Though, I believe in nearly all the open micers, because I feel like
you are sort of seen as the metaphorical father of the open mic comedy scene.
Because a lot of comedians have issues with their father.
They turn the McGibb.
Yeah, they project all the good stuff on me. I'll take it. But I think like I say, you have to be something to be good at something. But I also think that. Do you know what I was saying? Like, if you get infinite amount of monkeys and typewriters in a room, eventually someone's going to write Hamlet. And I kind of feel like if you're writing new stuff, you're one of those monkeys. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're writing new stuff and trying new stuff and performing, you'll find stuff that's funny, and then you save that, and then eventually you'll have Hamlet.
Yes, you'll get it at some stage.
Right. It's all it takes is the right application of effort, and someone can get good at this as long as they have enough self-awareness to know that people are enjoying them. I think that's the one. Those are the ones that I lose hope in, are the ones who have an absolute stinker and they come off stage and are like,
I wasn't bad. Like, I think I got them there. Yeah. That's
yes.
I mean, there's definitely something to be said for recognizing a stinker.
Yeah, I think so.
Both in terms of the dating world and an open mic comedy gig. But I've just been like, I wasn't great.
Yeah,
but,
self-reflection.
We'll go from there. Dolers, it is now time to do the ad read for this week because the podcast goes out tomorrow and I've forgotten to do it. But you know the crack anyway. We're talking about Good Barbecue, Great Outdoors Barbecue Co., who have asked me to let you guys know that just because Summer is over. Does not mean the barbecuing stops. So you can barbecue all throughout the year, and the perfect time to do so is the winter. Maybe you're not fancying barbecuing though, and maybe you're trying to get your mother or father or another relative, I don't know, a present for Christmas. Well, you can get amazing discounts on the 𝐿𝐿𝙇𝙀𝐾𝐿 Instagram page, which you should all head to. Or maybe you're feeling a bit more adventurous, go to the 𝐿𝐿𝑇𝐀𝐿 raffles Instagram page and enter the raffle. Really cheap tickets, huge prizes. Okay, guys, it's not to be sniffed at, and get on it. Back to the podcast. You recently roasted.
I did roast. I did.
Well, we both recently roasted.
We did. You were great.
Absolutely turned John Devlin to ash in the OES Centre.
Not in the eyes of John Zoo, you didn't.
Not in the. Did you hear about this?
What?
Not in the eyes of John Zoo.
Oh yeah, I did hear that. Yeah, I watched the video.
He was like, "Let's do a total recount." And I was like, "Okay."
He's contrarian,
yeah.
wasn't he? Like every time, which I think it helped to have, because otherwise there was some stuff when the judgment would have looked a bit one-sided. He was one of the judges, and then two of the judges would go, "See, I thought this guy was good," and then Jim would go, "I thought that guy was shit."
Yeah,
like he'd be like, really.
You're like,
he was quite
still
hard on
standing
you.
here? Yeah.
He was quite hard on you.
Because then he came up to me after,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Listen, you seem really upset." I was like, I promise you I wasn't upset. I was just confused as to why
it was weird.
A recount.
I'll tell you who 𝘿𝙊𝙑𝙀𝐻's worst enemy is 𝘿𝙊𝙑𝙀𝐻𝐻. All right, I'm off.
It's good. Write it down. Write it down. I am so bad for. I know I'm so bad for A, straight off topic, and B, writing stuff down on the notes, and then forgetting about it and looking at the notes and going, "What is this?" For example, I opened my phone the other day and it just said 24-hour spar 𝐿𝐿𝑇𝐀𝐿 loaf. No clue whatsoever it means, but like it'll come to me.
It's like drunk text to yourself.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Like what did I mean by translink GIMP? Like what is that?
I think we all know what you meant by translink GIMP. There's a mirror on this bus. No, it's stupid. I used to be a wild one for the drunk text when I used to drink a lot more before I did this, and it wasn't anything conscious, but the more I did this, the less I drank. And I think that maybe sometimes you're doing stuff to fulfill a need that you don't know you have, and I think when I was drinking it made me feel like I was funnier, and then you do this enough. Do you have a sound effect for it? Oh, nice. Yeah. It's probably as good as it gets.
You saw me look and I was going, I don't know if I've got anything for deep drunkenness. Yeah.
And and the more I did this, the more I felt the more I felt less need to see myself as funny. No, it was more like I knew it was there, but I less need to prove it. That's what it was. Mm-hmm. But I used to be wild one for the drunk text and all. Like there was once I sent a mass text to about 8 or 9 people at 3 a.m. that just said, "You love the texts."
Did many respond?
Some people.
I do love the text.
Some people posted on my Facebook wall about it, and one guy said he was shout out Zach McMorty. He said he was disappointed that he wasn't the only one that got it. He thought it was personal.
You love the text.
You love the text, mate.
I understand it was like I love you or something like that. And you'd be like, yeah, it's if 8 or 9 people got that, you'd be like, I wish that was just me.
Yeah.
You love the text. It's not like I'm gutted. I wasn't the only person to receive that.
Also, I just like texts plural, but this is the only text I sent. Just that.
Yeah. You love the texts. Could be like literature.
Scripture.
Yeah. The Roman
picture of the Torah.
Yeah.
Just there. I'm a texting Mormon. You know? Like, you ever heard of Joseph Smith and Latter-day Saints?
But yeah, we were both roasting.
Yes.
And we were at the gig. We were at the one you did.
Oh yes, you were indeed.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Very funny.
The whole night as a whole
was great.
Was incredible.
Just great. Like some of the most violent stuff I've ever heard in my entire life.
Some devastation.
There was one particular thing, I'll not say it here because we're live on it. We're not live on air, but we will be. Jordan Robinson said something to
some great stuff.
Jazz Sierra, and I nearly fell in my seat.
The breathing. Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. It's in there because it's a good one.
And I was like, that. But I think I remember telling you and Ben before he fled the country. Like that is crazy. Yeah. Like it's hilarious, but I was like, that is crazy. Like I had stuff, and I ended up using it the night. about John's friend who died in a car crash.
Yes.
And
Oh, you didn't use it?
I did use it.
Oh, yes, but you
But I had
stumbled it a little.
I had showed you it, and I showed Kieran, and then another comedian sent me a message and was like, "I don't think you should use that," and I was like, "Oh no."
Or tell me who you're after.
I will. And he was like, "I don't think you should use that," and I was like, "Right, okay." He was like, "I just don't. I think it's a bit far," and I was like, then I was like, "What if this is really bad? Then if I say that," and they're like, "It's a bit much," but. John had told me the information, so I was like, "Oh, this is."
Yeah.
So what I did was I just sent him a message. It was like, "Listen, are you okay with this?" He's like, "Oh yeah, go ahead."
Yes, good. Wise.
I watered it down slightly because in the original roast I was like, John's best friend was killed, and I was like, I'll just John's friend. John's John's friend was killed.
I think it's good that you did that. I think well, that's what we've done. I've only done maybe two roasts now, and I don't think I'll do any more. But because what I enjoyed about it was you find it a lot easier to write when you have to suspend all compassion and love for your fellow man, and that's an interesting exercise. But then after a while, it is just you feel like you're feeding a bad part of yourself.
There was definitely pressure of, and you're also writing material that you'll never use again.
Yeah.
You know, for like, and you're really like, I spent a lot of time written on John stuff, and I'm going, I'll never use. I can't use any of this.
Can't bring it into a set.
But me and John I've now decided, like, me and John, we have this sort of fake beef now. So like, for example, I didn't get on at Madden's on Tuesday, but I planned to say, I was at the Christmas market, bumped into John Devlin, who was stealing fudge from children, and just sort of like feed the lie that there's a bit of beef there, you know.
You should film everything you say about him like that, and then make a little comp video of just
because even
talking.
He's doing support for Dolecast live in April.
Oh, nice! You doing live?
Yes, we're doing it live in the Beehive.
Nice.
Rhymes, bars.
Nice.
But we're doing it live in the Beehive, and Kieran and Jazz are the guests, and tickets will not be out when this is out, but the podcast after, they will be out, because we're trying to get it sold. I'm currently editing the podcast you're watching. Tickets are out right now. Please go and buy them desperately. They're in the description. Please. But John's doing sport.
Being the keyword.
And we've done a couple of promo videos for it, and in every one I'm like, 𝐿𝙊𝙇𝙀𝐾𝐿 is doing sport as well.
Nice.
And
big fan.
I was like a big fan, and he was going to be on the podcast last week. We'll bring this up very quickly.
Stealing fudge.
Stealing fudge. Well, stealing Z's. Basically,
Slept in
last week we arranged the podcast for the same time today, 12 o'clock, and Aaron texted me the day before, and he said, "Listen, I'm gonna stay up to watch the Jake Paul fight. Where, you know, fights an old man, fights a pensioner, and I'll have a few drinks, but I'll be fine. I'll be up the next morning." So Aaron had borrowed these mics for his own podcast, and next morning I just texted and was like, "Oh, obviously, just make sure you bring the mics." And then it was getting to like close to 11:15, and I was going, hasn't replied. Like I'll give a ring. No reply. 11, no reply. I rang Aaron 72 times, and no reply. I then delayed.
That's a deep sleep.
It's a deep sleep. I delayed the podcast by half an hour to 12:30, and then it was getting to 12, and I was like, Aaron's not even awake yet. By the time he gets to my house, lifts me and gets to Queens, it's game over. So I texted John and was like, "I'm sorry, we'll have to delay this."
You're my girlfriend.
I texted your girlfriend. I was like, "Where is he?"
Oh man.
So
do you ever like? I woke up at 12:20 and I've never felt more.
Oh, night.
Even half an hour earlier, we could have been like, "Okay, we'll salvage it."
And you know I'm raging that like my mum and brother were both in the house, and if someone had got to them, I would have been.
We'll cut this out.
raging.
We'll cut this out, but Don't worry.
I don't think it's the same. Don't worry.
I know. I was just.
It's not that level.
I slept through 5 alarms, and I was like, and I don't sleep through alarms. Was it?
Have you been sleeping all right? Late night?
Yeah.
The fight was at 5 a.m.
The fight. Oh yeah. Of course, the fight.
So, but like, I was like, oh.
So I was full dad. So you rang me. I was full dad mode on the phone. Like you rang me, and I was like, "You were like, I'm sorry, I'm coming now." I was like, "Don't bother." I was like, "It's been cancelled."
Because we've like I've known. I don't really know each other like.
All our life, like probably 18, 19 years,
like from like 3 or 4 probably.
Yeah,
like, and we've known each other long enough that when the other person's annoyed,
you know about it. You know about it.
You know about it.
You don't even have to. You don't even have to like.
I just
say.
Went, oh no. The rest, I'll be totally honest here. like in the evening there, I went to the Christmas market on that day, and I didn't even put it on my story because I went, he'll kill me.
Yeah. Yeah.
If he sees that, he'd be like, you don't come back here ever again.
Why?
Like,
Why? Sure, you're. I mean, the day's done. You know what I
I
mean?
know.
It's like-
I just went. He'd be like, "Of course, he sleeps in for the podcast, but he's away to the Christmas market
Yeah,
to, get a bratwurst." You know
Oh,
what
I
mean?
would have. But I. So, but then on the story this week when I was like, guys, there's no podcast, I put a wee.
Sleepy emoji.
I put a sick emoji as if like I was sick, and that's why we didn't do one. But Sean was happy. Sean was happy enough. He was like, no one's dead.
Sure, he lives up the street.
He does.
Yeah, he's not far.
He lives.
Where are
close
you
enough.
guys living then? If you so you need to
Newton
get live from
Abbey.
Marin.
Newton Abbey.
Newton Abbey.
Yeah.
Right, that's how far we.
Like Glengormley direction.
It's like 15 minutes here today when it's Saturday morning and it's lovely and clear.
Yeah.
It took me 2 hours to get home about a week ago.
Yeah.
See,
I was raging. Man.
Oh yeah.
Belfast has been
I
pretty
was
bad.
fuming.
Man. Yeah.
We go record a podcast, and we were I do a film podcast,
Aye.
and the film that I watched was shorter than my drive home, and I was fuming about it.
You can watch the next week's film in the car, bro.
Literally.
That'll be bleeped out. There'll be no selfless plugging here for a podcast anyway.
Hey, no plugging.
Just for podcast. Just for podcast.
I didn't know what I want that. I was hoping that was a boo.
There was one day, and it was an old podcast, but I was an extra in Dairy Girls.
Aye. Oh,
And-
nice.
Yeah. Actor. And there was a girl when we were on the set, me and my friend Ryan did it, who did not stop talking about her work she did with disabled children, which is fine, but she like really harped on about it. And we had just got the version of this that I have at home.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, Ryan was producing, he said, oh, she didn't stop talking about her love for disabled children or whatever. And I accidentally hit the button by accident. Immediately clipped and put on TikTok. But I've also we've discussed this before of an idea of you know what a gig when like you deliver like a riff and it goes off and you get a wee applause break.
Yeah. 4 Eyes. That was fun.
Yes,
Yeah,
4 Eyes exactly. Or were you there the night I MC did the Champions League thing?
No.
It's basically the night of the Catholic eulogy outside at
Yeah,
Madden's
yeah.
and.
I was on that night actually. But I left
so I
during the break.
think you'd left, and
Must have
I
fled.
came back on, and they were passing Madden's, and I said something like, "Isn't it mad they're just singing the Champions League theme outside?" And like that got it, and I we've discussed me getting a T-shirt that just says "clip that," and then I wear a shirt, and then when something like that happens, I just boom, and like and obviously if you're recording, and then boom, throw it off. But
It'd be weird if you didn't have the shirt over it. It's just you're wearing a shirt that says clip.
yeah.
I think I've still got a shirt. I had a shirt made years ago. It just says jokes on it that I thought was it was very 2014 core of me. I got it for a comedy competition we were doing in London. There was like they used to do a heat here, but there's not as many student comedians now. But it used to be 𝐿𝙊𝙇𝙀𝙀. The comedy website did like a student comedy competition,
Right,
and
okay.
the first time they did it, it was in the Mandela of the time, which was a perfect venue, RIP, and Colin Murphy was emceeing it, and all it was banging. And then the next time it was like it was Mickey emceeing it, but it was in Bar Sub, which was also a good venue, long gone, of course, but. There was about 7 people at that one, and so I did 2 of them, and then afterwards we were out of student comedians after that. But and so they never did a heat up here again. But I think they still did Dublin heat. You should probably apply for that. But
Right, okay.
but the second heat is in London, and so I got through to that, and it was on a boat and everything. It was nice. Ed Gamble emceed it. That's weird now, but it was. It was on a boat, and I thought rather than work on my act, I was like, I'll get a T-shirt made that says jokes and wear that, rather than like put the effort
into the jokes.
Just be like, "I'm class anyway."
Because there's definitely been gigs where I've gone, I have a gig tonight, that's great. It's only when I'm driving to the gig, I'm like, I don't have a set. Like I have jokes, but I don't have a set figured out.
Collate.
And I'm like, which is, if it goes well, that's great. If it doesn't, I'm like, I really need to knuckle down and like make sure I'm
Arrive for
preparing
doors.
slightly more.
Yeah.
Because I first time I did Madden's, I showed up at 5:00.
Nice.
I walked in, it was just Daniel Quinn setting up, and I was like, here for the comedy, and he was like, come back in like an hour.
Yeah.
But yeah, we both did roasts.
Yes.
You roasted very well.
Thank you.
And you had a fun time there. It was event.
It
Very
wasn't.
much so.
I don't think they're going to do it again. I don't think there's
No.
much thirst in the upper scenes.
Yeah.
To I mean, not that I can speak for them, but for them to do it again. But I know they're going to be doing it regularly. There's like a gig starting in January or something about that. It's not for me anymore.
Yeah.
I've done enough, I think. But yeah, it was great. It was really enjoyable, and it was also a nice opportunity for me because here, is that you or me? Is that me?
That could be you.
It is me. Oh, it's this. I'll tell you later.
No worries.
Yeah.
The police.
No. There's just no way to describe why I hung up on that guy without making me sound like an absolute.
Okay.
But yeah, it was an opportunity for me because I've been around a long time, and I do think that I'm a good comedian, but also I think. I think the upper parts of the scene sort of look at me as he's doing his own thing, and I'm like, I'm not. Give me a f***ing spot, please.
I will absolutely do gigs if you want me to. Yeah.
So it was an opportunity, and I knew I was on later in the gig, which means that a lot of the stuff that I'd written might be already said by others.
Yeah, definitely.
So I had to write a lot, and I also knew I'm the only one there that no one's gonna know.
But you played in that really well, I think.
I think I did. I think I did. But I was like, you know, you have to work harder because people are going to look at you and go, well, who's this guy? Do you know what I mean? And in fact, somebody messaged me last night and said something very nice about it, that they and their friends were like, I think they referred to me as, who's this little guy? Which
Lil
I think
McGibb? That could be your rap name.
where I'm more
Lil
where I am more sensitive man, I think I probably would have been like, who's little guy, whereas I'm like, hello, being a little guy. So watching some of my mates earlier, and everyone in the room was like, who TF is that little guy, and why is he the funniest one?
Good.
That's a very nice thing for
good.
somebody to say. Shout out. Cameron.
Well, before we move into our questions, you're doing your solo show in the Black Box.
Oh yes.
Promote it like crazy. Go for it.
When does it go out actually?
This goes out on Wednesday.
Wednesday. I'm actually doing a show on Thursday as well.
There you go.
I'm doing a work in progress
down.
that is free in Derry. It's a fifth sold out. But the room only seats 25, so that doesn't mean anything. But like,
I saw you posted it, and I went, I didn't
some
go,
pretty,
how many does that fit? Because I was like, a
pretty
fifth could be
liberal,
like
pretty
couple
liberal
tickets.
fractions
Yeah.
that are going on. And the room feels full with like about 15 anyway. But it'll be grand. But it's a work in progress. It's free, and I just need to know how it sounds. But you can buy tickets for that online at Chicken Box Comedy or at Coven Comedy. By buy tickets, I mean it's like pay what you want, you reserve a seat. So I know you're coming. You know.
Yes.
And so I can tell you if I have to cancel it. So I got your email. And then on 20th of December in the Black Box, I'm doing a solo show there. It's called Journeyman.
Woo!
Nice. It's 60% sold.
Good.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you what that fraction means, but it means it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. And it's just it's a bit more ambitiously sized a room than I always feel like you should be about 10% more ambitious than what you think you are capable of. I mean, like 10%, you know, is a good amount. I think you don't want to be like 100% more ambitious than you should be. Like you shouldn't be booking big ass rooms when you got 5, you know, or whatever.
Hey, tell me about it.
Are you about to?
Beehive holds 130. So we're trying to shift tickets.
You can have the whole crowd on the stage.
Yeah, you're like, why do you think John Devlin's doing sport? That's a joke. But also
it's 60% sold. I think the last time I did a solo show, I did 2 nights, and one of them was in the Sunflower, it holds 60, and one of them was in the American, which technically holds 60. I capped it at 30. So like in theory, I've got the numbers.
Yes, absolutely.
But you know,
the gigs you've been doing recently will
hopefully
help.
Hopefully,
and
we'll see.
the absolutely
Aggressive.
in the aggressive marketing flyer campaign will absolutely assist.
Hey, there's
hopefully.
literally tens of flyers in my car. I've got to hand them out if the gig goes well, and if it doesn't, I just leave them in the car.
But that's on the 20th of December.
20th of December,
At the Black Box. The
Yeah.
links will be in the descriptions and stuff.
It's not great marketing to say it's a show about being just kind of all right or something.
What's the journeyman aspect of it?
Well, so there's this thing in boxing. So certain boxers are known as like a journeyman boxer, and that's just somebody who's like quite proficient but is never really going to make it big, never going to go to the top. And I just really it sort of made me think that all the people I admire always end up being like journeymen, like Gary Goldman, great comedian in America there, and others whose names I can't remember, but which kind of makes the point. And I think, you know, the show was a wee bit about sort of recognizing myself as one of those, and that's maybe not necessarily such a bad thing, because well, there, you know, there's that old joke as well, when people do a gig and they say you only do the Pavilion twice, once on the way up, once on the way down. It's nice to be back. You know that one? And I am that marker. You see me on the way up and you see me on the way back down, and maybe it's all right that that person that you see on the way up and the way back down is a trained therapist.
Decent.
Yeah.
Well, we have some questions here.
Cool.
Many of your comedy children have
nice.
So we have, this person says,
From my womb. Nothing.
if you had to open a gig for any stand-up comedian alive or dead, who would you pick?
Oh, see, it changes all the time. It used to be Dylan Moran. I saw somebody open for Dylan Moran lately, and they didn't have a good one, actually. I think it
should be me. Yeah.
I think I would have done all right as well. I think I would have done all right. I think I could have fixed it.
Yeah.
But well, I think he was just he was great comic. It just wasn't for that room, and also they were there to see him, and so that's the problem being a support act, is you're always an obstacle. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're like, people come to see someone and you're in the way. You're between them. So you really have to.
Was that in the Limelight?
No, I didn't see him in the Limelight show. I went to him in. Well, this will point out who it is. Dundalk, but
okay.
Dundalk. Drogheda, maybe. What is it? Kind of.
Who knows? Who knows?
Spirit Store.
Dylan Moran.
Yeah, Dylan Moran. But I also really love, you know, Simon Amstel, Bo Burnham. I think what I like is I like some wordy people, but like silly. You know what I mean?
George Robinson's one of my favorite comedians on the scene.
Love George Robinson.
And I when I say I wouldn't say I'm friends with him, it's because every time I am friends with him, but I mean every time I speak to him, I'm speaking to a different George, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's true.
He is such a character that I'm like, you know, I'm just a you're the main character. I'm just a guy, George. I really am.
He's so naturally funny and silly, but also quite compassionate, I think, as well, and civic minded, which I like about him.
Most likely.
I would really like to see him succeed. Yeah, he's a great guy. Hey, look him up. Someone, whoever you're listening to, or
I've said this before. He does a bit about having children.
Yes.
He does not have children. I thought for many months that George Robinson was divorced with children.
He also has a bit now about being a dentist. Not a dentist.
I might start doing that. Just be like, when I was in space, I was done with this.
It's good that he's opening minds.
Yeah, yes, he's opening minds, for better or for worse. Adam Byrne says, how much do you love Adam Byrne, and why is it infinity?
Well,
it's a loser-esque question, Adam.
That's real desperate.
That's a real crickets. That's a crickets question there.
So my answer to this is no, listen. I love Adam Byrne a lot, but you know what I love? I love seeing people become better at I guess anything, but stand up obviously is what I say a lot. And Adam's got really good this year. Like, no, he was good before, but you know,
but he's really, even in the last month, he's just had like a plethora of great things happen to him.
Yeah.
And I told him last night, I said, it's all gonna come crashing down. Just be on guard. And when it does, I'm gonna slip through the crack and take it all away from you.
I think, you know, becoming a better stand-up doesn't make you a better person, but I do sometimes think becoming a better person does make you a better stand-up, conversely. Like,
that is bars. That is bars.
And I do think, I think he's just matured as a human being, and it shows on stage.
Yeah. I think he's very immature and needs to grow up. That was a great answer for a question that is just Adam Byrne trying to get
some love. Yeah. Well, I'm giving the love.
This person
Love's
says,
not finite.
This person says, "Who's your favorite comedian?" I mean, we've kind of covered that, but I mean,
but I wrote them down recently because it changes all the time. But yeah, it's
good headline, good bad ropey.
I think still more. Though I've like that Work in Progress show I saw, it wasn't him at his best, but he was just sort of around. I think. I think depends what you want. You know, like Simon Amstel is like that. He does that show. He's done a couple of solo shows, but he did one that it's on Daily Motion because you can't find it anywhere now. But it's Numb live at the BBC, and I think that's it's a really good hour. I've been listening to Bo Burnham inside since the American election because I've been having him feel depressed for me, so I can go on with my life. But incredible musician, incredible singer.
Absolutely.
And I suppose, but a lot of my favorites tend to be like local people because that's a lot of the comedy I see. And now sometimes when I go abroad, or not go abroad, when I'm in England, sometimes when I see like other comics like The Fringe and stuff, sometimes I'm like, I'd rather just be watching Paddy McGackey from Palomino.
My view is like, and it's probably something I need to sort of widen my horizons to, but a lot of my sort of comedians that I look up to and like, I really like them, are people from here. Because that's obviously the scene I see the most. And I'm like, I prefer you a lot more to people elsewhere.
Thank you.
Not you necessarily, but...
taking it back. I no longer love you, Infinity.
But like, I had something else to say, I forgot what I said. But I look at people here more as opposed to elsewhere, and like in terms of American comedians, like I see them and I look at them, but like I don't, I would sooner look at someone from here and go, well, what way is he doing things?
Sure.
Because obviously, play in the field you're in as well.
Yeah. This is it.
It's they're doing stand up that's for here. Essentially,
it used to be John Mayer, was from Newry. There, he's great, and he was on tea with me there.
Yes,
lately, and
I listened to it yesterday. It's very good.
Right,
very,
and he was talking about how when he started, there was a couple gigs. There was a couple, like the Empire was the biggest gig, and Lavery's was a mid gig for a long time. Well, I think that's what Colin originally intended it to be. I can't speak for him, but it seemed to be he saw it as like, well, you need somewhere between the Path and the Empire. Yeah. Whereas now it seems to be on par, I'd say, with the Empire. Probably depending on who you ask, maybe more, maybe.
Yeah.
And so like there wasn't much going on, and so if you wanted any hope of any sort of future, you'd be like, well, better move, or you can gig twice a night in Dublin, or you can go to England and you gig 3 times a night, but they're fucking bringers and all that.
Yeah.
So you have to bring on
bringers would be, I mean,
they're plague.
Bring
they're bad
you
idea.
do a lot of gigs and my girlfriend and stuff. But like bringers in over in England sounds awful.
Terrible idea.
Sounds awful.
I don't know how it took off. It's probably just because it's easier for some people, but it's not good for the gig economy. And they tried to, because it is an economy in stage time's currency, but like down south, there's somebody trying to it's like another bar there.
That's good. That was good. That was gig, stage time is currency. That's it.
It is though,
That is you get an audience break and you undo the shirt. Stage time is currency.
and it is, and maybe that shows myself politically when I say earlier that any good scene needs a strong bottom or whatever. But I mean, like you need plentiful stage time at a low level. So first of all, anyone who wants to do stand up can try it, and anyone who wants to get good at it can try it. Yeah. Because it takes time. But so it used to be you'd have to move, and now I think it's probably better for people to stay. Feasible even. You just, people can make their own fan base, and it turns out there's enough people in Northern Ireland who are willing to see folks that you can do the SSE.
Absolutely.
And those guys deserve that, by the way. I'm not saying that's score.
They've put the work in, certainly.
Absolutely.
And I've been like, we were talking earlier, like 5 minutes ago, we mentioned like acts like Bo Burnham who do the sort of the music aspect, which is incredibly hard to do, I think. Obviously, like there's writing material and there's writing music. That's a skill in itself. And I was emceeing Madden's that night where you left during the break. 𝐿𝙊𝙇𝙀𝐾𝐼.
Love him.
I was introducing him and I said, this next act does a different style of comedy, musical comedy, or as I call it in the business, cheating. Because it like people 9 times out of 10 they love a tune. Like they love just like especially even Jack McGee last night.
Yeah,
I was doing music stuff, and by the end, like the audience were joining in, and you're like, oh, I was like, one day you'll all join in my cinema bits. You all say it back to me, and it'll be great.
I think that's interesting, isn't it, as well? Because there's elements to people here simply do love a tune, like as well. Because a lot of the people. Like I mean, and this isn't anything on them. I think they're great comedians actually, but they had the quickest rise. And I think that's why it's the people here love a tune, like Paddy Raff and Emer Maguire and the like, because you can join in a way, I suppose. Maybe it's more communal in a sense.
I hear a lot of Dan Leith's.
Oh, Dan Leith's great as well. Yeah, how could I forget that?
That like just like not that I haven't seen Dan in months gig, but I've heard his stuff in my head, you know, Sex with Ghosts and stuff like that, and I just hear it.
Catchy.
Yes, it's catchy. Another comedian asks, spoiler, everybody that asks the question's a comedian. When you overhear someone say, "Look over there," do you inadvertently look over there?
Oh my! What is this, primary school? Am I 4 again? Like, is this?
Do you know what's weird? That was Martin Barkley. I'll reveal that.
Oh, well, then he's just taking the piss. He's just being Martin. But I you know, what's weird about that is when people joke about that, they always act like they think they're the first person to think of that.
I get,
over
Houston,
there.
do you have a problem? A lot. That is like,
that is pretty good.
It's a solo show name.
Oh yeah.
Well,
it is.
The work in progress is we have Houston, we have liftoff, and then the solo show is Houston, we have problem.
What about Houston? We are a problem.
Houston, I am the problem.
There's a swiftiness to it.
But yeah, that's a great line of questioning there. I mean, I suppose.
Yeah.
Look over there.
Yeah.
And you're like, where?
Yeah. It is a problem when your name's a verb. You know, who else has got that actually? What other names are verbs?
Get the phone out. Get the phone out.
Yeah.
Names that are verbs.
Yeah.
I'm
names that are verbs.
Absolutely, my brain is scrambling to get
Peter
something.
Crouch, I guess. That's the surname in it.
Oh.
Chase.
Chase.
Yeah.
Chase.
What first names was first?
Not many, it turns out.
Yeah,
not many chases. I bet
Mark,
they don't.
maybe.
Oh, Mark. Yeah, Mark.
Chip.
Chip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bob, Josh, Sue. Is there anyone? Sue.
What's Bob a verb for? Oh, like bobbing in the water.
Oh, Bob in the water.
Yeah.
Oh, here we have a wee story for you here, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So like,
Clip it. Yeah,
no, I don't know if it's that good, but the Pav during the years, there used to be a Belfast Comedy Festival, and there may well be one in the future actually. If it depend, you know, there's some stuff, there's some rumblings there.
Whoa.
But there was a Belfast Comedy Festival in the past, and it was great. And one of the times, if you have a gig, they basically just put you in the program anyway, so you get a free bit of publicity. Usually, you sell the night pretty well. So that one year we had the Belfast Comedy Festival in the Pav. It was just a normal Pav, and this guy was heckling, and I went as a promoter, like, because an act can put you down a couple times, but if you're still talking, it's time for the promoter to come
Just
over
step in
and be
say,
like, "Can you f up?"
Yeah.
So I went over and I said, "Can you f up?" And he didn't, and then that's why I went over and I said it again. And then the third time I was like, "All right, well, you have to go." And then me and Christian Talbot, who we mentioned earlier, and Ross Mitchell. Now, if you can picture the least threatening group of doormen, just pulled him out of the room. But it was weird because we didn't really know how to do it. So like, I think I had my arms wrapped around him and I was just I was just pulling him out of the room in a hug. But as he was shouting, as he's leaving, he was trying to shout a joke that he had heard, and it was like, "A man from Cork died yesterday. His name was Bob. His name was Bob." As he was leaving the room, right? And that lived in my head rent free for a year. And then the next year,
Up at night and everything.
and then the next year,
His name was Bob.
his name was Bob. And then the next year, the comedian Rich Hall was doing a panel show in Northern Ireland, and he's like, "Any gigs about?" And it was a Monday night, so he came to the Pav, which was a bit of a coup. You know, it was a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
And then he on stage said, "Oh, I heard a man from Cork died yesterday. His name was Bob," and that was his joke. And it was a year later to the date, and I was like, and do you know when something amazing happens and you're telling people and no one cares? Yeah. I was like turning to people next to me like,
I know that. Yeah. You ever seen Doctor Strange where she like sends him into the all the dimensions? That was you in that moment. You're like, oh my goodness, the circle is now complete.
No one gave a
Last question comes from another comedian. Who is your favorite of your comedy children?
Of my comedy children, this is going to be such a Virgin Mary answer.
I love them all.
I love all of my children.
Yeah.
Like sometimes,
That's from Tiff, by the way, just to put that out there.
Oh,
That's
well,
from Tiff.
I love Tiff actually at the minute.
Yeah.
At the minute, it's very conditional
Yeah,
love.
yeah.
The cheesy answer to the earlier question of who's my favorite comedian, it's the comedian in front of me doing new material. I love seeing somebody trying to, because if you're I love seeing that because that's growth, and even if it doesn't go well, you're pushing yourself to be a better comic if you're doing something new. But I've got a couple of people I'm pushing at the moment and just poking and prodding in various directions to see what happens. But really, I just want everyone to be better. I ask not what your scene can do for you. Ask what you can do for the scene.
Everything you say can be put in a t-shirt. Ask not what your scene can do for you.
That's JFK, so I might. But RFK now back in government as well. Going to be next pandemic. We're all going to be taking roids instead of vaccines. Just like,
worms in our brains.
Yeah.
just like you sneeze and you hulk out of your shirt. I really just want to see. I think ultimately the goal is making this a more funny place to live. But also I think there's observational humor is kind of a basic applied empathy that can help people to feel normal about stuff that might not be. And so that's kind of the ultimate goal is more people doing this, but also more people pushing themselves to be better at it, and ideally maybe that making society a little better. But maybe that's a bit rosy. I don't know, but I'm a
It's
rosy
like
guy.
asking for world peace for Christmas. We'll see. We'll see.
I'm going to be Miss World.
What you can get for tickets, though, is tickets to Luke's show and
Nice.
Dolecast Live on the right.
Nice.
Dolecast Live tickets,
Yes.
very cheap. Cheap enough that when
Have we even announced that?
no, but
This
I'm
is
telling
it?
you, when they come out,
Oh.
well, like I've said a lot for like there will be a live show next year, so it's happening.
You may as well have the Eventbrite up so people can just Google it after this. You don't even have to have it be the announcement.
The announcement,
but, have
but it exists if you want to buy a ticket.
Have it by Wednesday, you'll be sweet.
That's not a bad idea. So listen, and if not, tickets will be out a week later anyway, so it's okay.
Yeah.
Listen, yeah, they'll be out less than a week later. So yeah, I'll probably maybe I'll just announce it early. Who knows? Tickets cheap enough that when I told a comedian the price last night, he went, "Really?" And I went,
You can bump those up. That's what
"He went, you can bump those up." And I went, "I won't. I want to give the people affordable prices for their tickets, and I just want to sell the room out. That'd be great."
Do you know what's currency more than stage time? Currency.
Yes,
is
yes,
currency. is
actual
currency.
cheap currency. I want to put a
Bitcoin.
poster out. I want to put a poster out that with a big sold outline across front, and I say, "Uh-oh, sorry."
Do you know the secret? You can just do it anyway.
Just do it anyway. Oh, guys,
Low ticket warning. What's low? Like
ticket.
500.
We've sold one or two. So there's
warning-
lower tickets than there were.
Yeah. Warning is we've sold a low amount of tickets.
No amount of tickets sold morning. That would be great. It'd be good if someone put one out. It was like sold none, and it was just like big red. What percentage? I mean, don't have to give this away if you don't want to. What percentage of tickets would you have had to sell to be like, I can't put this show on?
No, it changes all the time because before the pandemic, it was much more consistently a bad gig, and well, not even a bad gig, just sparsely attended.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the big crowds are actually quite hard, and sometimes the small crowds are amazing. So it was much more homely, cozy. We'll say intimate is the term sometimes people use for a small gig. But yeah. And so it used to be like 3. And then for a while, or post-pandemic, since my standards were all Billy Big Balls, it was like 9 because we were selling out every week.
Yeah.
And then recently I was like, nah, maybe it's like 6. And then the other day we did it for like 4 people and a load of comics that I'd shuffled forward. And like I'm now a really big believer in like if it's an audience that are here, paid, and are interested to see you, even if it's like 2 or 3 people, it's stage time for you, and it contributes to people being better comedians.
Absolutely.
and tougher comedians, because it requires a certain amount of grit to go ahead with a smaller crowd, but it's ultimately good for you, and sometimes that's the best feeling as well. Like my favorite gigs aren't just good gigs or big gigs, it's like a gig where everyone's down on their hole except me. I love that. I love that. Like I go on and I'm like, I fixed it, everybody.
Yeah.
It's all good now.
Yes, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, the best feeling.
But thank you very much for coming to Dolecast.
Thank you.
Keep stopping that early.
Wouldn't it be great if you had a crowd that could stop that quickly?
Wouldn't it be great if this was a live,
like they're clapping,
a
and then
live
you walk on
audience?
stage
You're like,
and then suddenly
wouldn't
just
it be great if this was a live podcast in the Beehive on the day April 25th? Whoa!
I'd buy a ticket or 12 to that for at least £1.
Someone buy 130 and just sell it out. I have your money. I'll do it to no one. But listen, I don't want to speak out of turn. There may be a special guest.
Big announcement.
Who knows? And I'll tell you after who.
Yeah.
And by maybe a special guest, the guest has told me that if they're free,
Yeah.
they'll be there.
We'll see you there, Aaron.
We'll be there. Yes. He'll be at the back doing the sound.
Might be a special guest. Now, this guest may be a trained sound engineer.
Yes. And he might be at the back, and he's been here the whole time. But
If you
yes,
want to learn anything about producing,
speak to that guy at the back. But yes, also buy tickets to Luke's show on the 28th.
do that.
And if
Despo.
you're down in Derry tomorrow,
Yes,
Get
yeah.
a
Also
ticket.
the 20th, yeah.
yes.
So when you say buy a ticket for the 28th, there's 2 options, and they're both good.
Oh, you're doing them exactly a month apart.
Yeah.
Ah,
Not on
well,
purpose.
buy a ticket for the 20th at some stage, whether it's down at Bennigan's or if it's
Or both.
or both,
Or
or
both.
come down to both, and then after decide. I don't know if I like them better here or here. You know,
As long as you're there.
See how
Yeah,
it changes. Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely go up to look after and tell them what one you thought was better. I thought you were stronger down in Derry.
And then go, hey, look over there, look.
You're like, Martin, stop. But yes, thank you so much for coming on. And we will see you in due course.
Yes. Hey. Sorry. Sorry.
Thank you for Queen's Radio for letting us use this studio. And we'll have to cut that out probably. We'll
Thank
see.
you to the liberal media elite for controlling all. Yeah, maybe cut that out.
It's the first time I've had a use for the record scratch. Yes, thank you very much. I'm going to stop the recording before anything else is said.
Record scratch. That's the sound of his.
Thank you, Aaron, for producing. Buy tickets for all the shows. We'll see you later. Goodbye.